My God, I don't believe this. A rose.
The rose was a symbol for the Holy Grail.
Tom Hanks followed the plot line chapter and verse in the 2006 film of the Dan Brown novel, The Da Vinci Code. Brown's stories of religion and intrigue have brought him spectacular success. This morning, Tony Dokoupil pays him a visit.
So this room here is something I call the Fortress of Gratitude.
Dan Brown's library is filled to the rafters with hundreds of editions of his best-selling thrillers.
Every book in this room is a Dan Brown volume?
It is. It is. It's kind of crazy.
He has more than 200 million books in print in 56 languages. The Da Vinci Code, the book that made him an international star, is one of the best-selling novels of all time.
The symbols are a language that can help us understand our past.
The film version and two others in the franchise star Tom Hanks as Harvard professor of symbology, Robert Langdon. But with all that success has come a wave of criticism. Brown's been attacked by religious groups and readers for his depictions of Christianity.
The Vatican basically called all the Catholic churches and said, you boycott this book, and you go and you preach the gospel and you say that Dan Brown is telling lies.
Do you consider yourself anti-Catholic or anti-religion?
Absolutely not. Religion does an enormous amount of good in the world. At the same time, there are factions in every religion that take the metaphors and the myth of Scripture and they hold them up as literal fact. And that is the danger of any philosophy or any religion.
Now, Dan Brown is at it again with Origin, a new novel out this week that puts God on the edge of extinction.
Traditionally, all the gods fall. And my question is, are we naive to believe that the gods of today will not suffer the same fate?
Would that be a better planet?
I personally believe that our planet would be absolutely fine without religion, and I also feel that we are evolving in that direction.
Brown's own evolution began at Phillips Exeter Academy, the prestigious prep school in New Hampshire,
Unbelievable.
where his father taught math in this classroom
This brings back memories.
and taught his son to put his faith in science.
How long since you've been back?
Wow, it's been maybe 20 years, and I see my dad's textbooks right there.
Yeah, right there at the
He
end.
wrote those.
How important do you think math, your father, this classroom has been to your work?
Absolutely integral, absolutely critical. So this is the musicianship studio that was built in memory of my mom.
His mother, who passed away this year, was the school's music teacher and played the church organ.
One of the first ways I learned how to read music was sitting with her and turning pages for her.
As an Episcopalian, she taught her son to place his faith in God.
Do you remember the moment when it stopped being your truth?
I remember the moment that I started the journey to find out what my truth was.
It happened when Brown was 13 years old.
I went to my priest and I said, hey, there's a problem here. You're talking about Adam and Eve and the 7 days of creation. I'm learning about evolution. Which story is true? And this particular man said, nice boys don't ask that question.
That question now powers his writing.
Exeter taught me not to use too many adjectives, among other things.
To get to the point.
To get to the point.
But for decades, Brown's career wandered, first to music.
I hit Los Angeles at about the time that the rap craze hit, and really nobody wanted to hear the kind of songs I was writing.
Few wanted Brown's early books either. He wrote 3 novels and, under a pen name, a joke book called 187 Men to Avoid.
In the early days, was that your best-selling book?
That was my only selling book.
He also started teaching at Phillips Exeter.
If I have this right, Exeter is right there.
It is. Yeah, and that's where I taught English in the afternoons.
And in the mornings, he wrote the Da Vinci Code in this little office above a friend's bookstore.
This used to say Robert Langdon, symbologist. And nobody had heard of any of these books.
In the book, Robert Langdon has to solve a series of riddles and codes, much like Brown did as a child on Christmas morning.
My brother and sister and I would come down to the Christmas tree and there would be nothing there. There would just be an envelope with a code.
His father's puzzles inspired his work. Published in 2003, the Da Vinci Code has sold more than 80 million copies.
I was out in Portland, Oregon on tour, and the New York Times list came out, and I'm just sort of waiting to hear if I'm on it. I walk into the hotel, and the concierge says, "Mr. Brown, you have a fax." He held it up. It was just a giant number 1.
The first call he made was to Mom and Dad.
It's still meaningful to you today.
It is. It's meaningful because we're talking about my parents. And I do believe that for most of us, the approval of our parents trumps everything.
But some fellow writers haven't been as kind.
What's it like to hear that Stephen King, for example, has called you the intellectual equivalent of mac and cheese?
I like mac and cheese. We would all like to say, I don't read my reviews. I don't mind getting a bad review. I think that's a lie. I think if you're a creative person, you want everyone to love what you do. I am trying to write books that taste like ice cream but actually have the nutrition of vegetables. I want people to enjoy these books. I'm not trying to emulate William Faulkner. I never said I was.
Still, the writer's life has been a good one. The 53-year-old and his wife live like figures in one of his own novels. Their home is full of codes, secret rooms, even a few hidden passages.
This here does not look like a secret passage, but if you just grab it here and pull, you will...
Amazing.
You will find it actually goes out to a garden.
To Dan Brown, success is no riddle. His mom never had a chance to read the new book, but his father gave their parental approval.
What was the book report like?
He told me, "Dan, this is the best book you've ever written." I don't know if he's right, but that's what he said.